Hello, everyone. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk. My name is Hrabchak. On today's episode, we're going to be previewing round two of the Stanley Cup playoffs between the Winnipeg Jets and the Dallas Stars. In a second, I'm going to be joined by Lyss, Houde, and together we're going to be joined by a very special guest, Nathan Murdock, aka Grav. Grav has a YouTube channel with over 80,000 subscribers. You can find his channel on YouTube under the name Graviteh. He puts out a ton of great content on prospects, underrated players across the league, playoff videos as well. Had some great content when the Four Nations was going on. I really appreciate his channel, and he's a huge Dallas Stars fan. So he joined today's show to provide some Dallas Stars insight. I think you'll really enjoy this perspective. Let's get to that conversation now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Winnipeg Sports Talk. My name is Hrabchak. Today, I'm joined by Lyss, Houde, and we are joined by a very special guest, Nathan, also known as Grav, has a massive YouTube account, does tons of great content. I appreciated the Four Nations videos back when that was around, and every team's most underrated player, all of these fun YouTube content ideas. Grav, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very good. Thank you for having me here. I mean, I am on cloud nine right now. The fact that I'm even here right now to talk about this after what happened in both of our game sevens, by the way. I mean, we
Yeah.
could just talk about that for we could talk about that for hours. The fact that we are both here when we could have easily both been super sad today in so many ways, but somehow both our teams came back from the brink. I mean, you guys, I think it was even a little bit more crazy that it happened. But I'm the theme is I'm happy to be here talking about round two because this series is going to be awesome.
Oh, it's 100%. It's so funny that you say that because, yeah, 40 minutes into both the games last weekend, I don't think any of us were as happy of campers as we are now. But let's talk about the second most exciting 2-goal comeback from a deficit, missing your best forward and best defenseman against a Central Division opponent that happened this weekend. I want to hear just kind of like your quick live reaction thoughts on that game seven, because obviously we got a thrill of our own, but that was in the wake of what we thought could not be topped as a hockey game of a game seven between the Dallas Stars and the Colorado Avalanche on Saturday.
I'll take the silver medal at this point. I mean, nothing will top what you guys did, but I think we laid the groundwork for your game seven, in all honesty. But I mean, I couldn't even believe what I was watching because the first half was just unbelievably brutal. I mean, I think they had like 13 shots for like the first 45 minutes or something embarrassing. I was like, I had so many drafts in tweet drafts. Just
We have the words. We know you don't want to hear them.
I know exactly. I had so many drafts just completely disrespecting the entire team until Mikko Rantanen decided to show up. I mean, that's kind of the difference between I think both of the comebacks is that I think the Jets comeback was the whole team putting it out there. The Stars comeback, it really was just Mikko Rantanen just deciding he's going to go God mode and just completely take over that game seven. I mean, I couldn't believe what I was seeing because I think most people probably know that I've been a severe Mikko Rantanen apologist throughout his entire time. I mean, even going back to his time with the Canes, I thought he was kind of snake bitten back then. He gets traded to Dallas in another whirlwind of a situation. I mean, it's already crazy that he was dealt in the first place. Then he has to go to a different team in Dallas in a different conference in the same division as his old team and have to deal with all of that. And I thought he looked pretty good to start out. And in the playoffs, the points weren't there. I think he only had 1 point in his first 3 games, but I thought he was one of the better stars in terms of generating chances. And then he starts to get really going in the second half. And then that game seven is where the whole pot is just completely opened and he just goes absolutely insane. I mean, it was just that third period really where everything happened. But I mean, I was not expecting it at that point. The Avs coming in, I thought they were going to win that game. And they looked dominant to start things out. You had Wedgwood completely destroying things. It's really something though, that without Robertson, without Haskin, you were playing with house money at that point. I was just honestly ecstatic that we even made the game seven under those circumstances, as you guys also are having to deal with. And I'm also just ecstatic that the Stars even were able to make that happen in the first place, force that game. Even if they went to overtime, it would have been okay, that's amazing. But the fact that they completely dominated that third period, Mikko Rantanen did all the magic that he had on display. I mean, it was like a storybook. I couldn't even believe what I was seeing.
Yeah, and it was incredible. And in this video specifically, we're going to preview this Jets and Stars second round series. Obviously, Grav is going to provide a Dallas Stars perspective. Lyss and I will provide a Winnipeg perspective. As some of you might have seen on the St. Louis preview, we drafted certain categories of X factors for this series, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Lyss and I, obviously, Jets perspective, Grav, Stars perspective. But before we get into that, I want to ask you one question because the Jets played the Stars twice in the final month of the year. And the games weren't close. Like the Jets beat them 4-1 in Winnipeg and then beat them 4-0 in Dallas. Both of those games they completely dominated. Dallas went into the playoffs on a 7-game losing streak. My question is what changed? Like I just feel like I was watching the Dallas Stars and watching a team that was getting bailed out by goaltending and I was so confident in Colorado winning that series and Dallas rose to the occasion. So provide a little bit of insight as to what changed with this Dallas Stars group.
Right. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me, I mean, like you said, Connor, I think it was especially Ottinger trying his best to just keep that team together the last little bit. I think it was a mix of them not playing well, but I think it also was, again, like Mikko Rantanen coming into the team and really changing up the roster because the team had so much chemistry and really built up that group like Winnipeg, I think really did throughout the first half of the season. Then you put up somebody that's going to should be on your top 6 immediately, and it really changes the dynamic, especially somebody like Rantanen, who's this like big power forward who can score as much as he does. It's a different element that Dallas hasn't really had. But then you also factor in the injuries. Heiskanen was injured all throughout that last stretch, and that's something also to consider. But of course, injured throughout the first round, so it's not really like the perfect explanation. But I think most of it came down to one, Ottinger having one of the best series, his best series since the iconic first round against the Flames back in 2022, I believe. He was undeniable in that series versus Colorado and matched up as well as he could have against Blackwood on the other side. But I think it was just a mix of just the clutch goal scoring as well. That was kind of an aspect that was there in the first half when the chemistry was all there and complete. But you saw in the first round, just at different points, even before the game 7, the point totals for the Stars in that first round weren't looking all that great individual by individual, but it was just at the right times, the right moments. You have that overtime goal by Tyler Seguin, I believe in game 3. You just had all these opportunistic times. And again, I think the Stars are incredibly lucky to be where they are at this spot. But I mean, now that they are getting back healthy, I think now against Winnipeg, this is probably the most complete the team has been in probably like 3 months, in all honesty. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes forward, if that is actually a good thing for them or not, or if these guys coming back in the lineup kind of shakes things up again and that loses some chemistry they had in the first round. It's going to be very interesting to see because I think it can go in so many directions.
It really is. And this series is going to be so much fun. Let's dive right into it. We're going to be drafting our X factors just like we did for the St. Louis series. You've brought him up a few times. I know who you're taking for this one, so I'll give you the floor on this one from the Dallas perspective. Let's start by all picking a star player we are looking from the Stars or the Jets to have a big impact on this series. And like I said, you've said his name a few times, so I'll tee you up. Grav, who you got from the Stars as your star player to watch?
Well, I mean, it's kind of undeniable to not have him in this spot, but we got to go with Mikko, the big Finnish moose, Rantanen. I mean, I don't even know what to even say about this guy at this point. It was like he flipped a switch in so many ways. I thought he was playing well throughout his start with Dallas in the regular season and in the playoffs. The points just weren't there. The finishing wasn't there. The confidence wasn't there. But I think you saw in that second half of this Avs series just a different Rantanen, the Rantanen we've come to know, this playoff performer, this consistent beast on the ice. I mean, I think as we mentioned before, Dmitry Filipovic, I think he posted like just like all the highlights of him like protecting the puck in the first round. Is like when he is on his game, he is just a completely different player. And it's something that we didn't quite see beforehand. We saw glimpses of that, we saw stretches of that, but not the complete profile. And I think he is by far just the Stars' biggest X factor, because if he continues what he did in game 5, 6, and 7 against Winnipeg, then that's a completely different series. So seeing that consistency, seeing him actually go up to those big moments, that's going to be really interesting. But of course, you got a few other options there on the Stars. But I think Rantanen, in terms of the intrigue, I think definitely has to be number one.
Yeah,
For sure,
and Jets
Lyss.
fans
Oh, yeah, go
are
ahead.
familiar with getting burnt by Mikko Rantanen in the playoffs. That's for sure. He definitely the ceiling that changes for the Dallas Stars when that player's on his
Right.
game is just unreal, and not in a good way if you care for the Winnipeg Jets. But my player that I'm going to choose for an X factor for a star player for the Winnipeg Jets is Nikolai Ehlers. We could talk a lot about, and I'm sure you've heard, Grav, tons and tons of comments about the right defense of the Dallas Stars, and you've experienced firsthand that there may be a slight weakness over there. And I think that Nikolai Ehlers is a player who's probably going to play a good chunk of his minutes against guys like Ilya Lyubushkin or Cody Ceci. And I think there is a little bit of potential for a guy who is capable of burning even the best defenders in the league with his speed to maybe take advantage of that kind of right side of the ice if that situation allows and the matchups dictate. Right. So Nikolai Ehlers is a guy who's obviously returning from injury in the last couple of games and is just kind of getting his feet wet. Obviously wasn't pleased with his own performance in a good chunk of game 7 there, but had the incredible pass to Kyle Connor to secure the unbelievable outcome that was the end of regulation in game 7. So he's a guy I think is looking to elevate his game. Contract year coming up. He's got a full series now to be able to prove himself, to see what's going to happen. There's lots to talk about with that guy. So he's my elite player to watch for. That could be a massive X factor for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor, what about you?
I'm taking Kyle Connor for a lot of the same reasons. In this double overtime game in game 7, it seemed like he was the one that never got tired. Like he was flying around. Everyone was, hunched over. Neil Pionk's playing 46 minutes. Colton Parayko's playing 40 plus. And Kyle Connor's just buzzing. He's flying around. So I'm going to take him. He's tied with Mikko Rantanen for the NHL playoff lead in points with 12. He scored a clutch goal in game 1 with a minute and a half left to give the Jets the win. He scored the eventual game winner in game 2. He had a few assists in game 7, like the one to Cole Perfetti. I think he's played well against the Dallas Stars really his whole career. And I think having it be in a playoff series like Patrick Laine and Kyle Connor always would kill the Stars every time that they would play way back in the day. And Kyle Connor's just kept that up. Grav, correct me if I'm wrong, but Kyle Connor seems like every time he plays the Stars, he's just a Stars killer. So I'm going to take Kyle Connor as a star player to watch.
No, those are good picks, especially. I mean, I love the Ehlers one too, because you saw like the two complete sides of Nick Ehlers in that game 7, and like every single shift it was like, okay, that's great, that's elite Nick Ehlers again. Oh boy, that next shift. Oh,
welcome to the Winnipeg Jets experience.
Yeah, pretty much. I think he's going to do really well, though. Like you said, with the speed, especially, that's something that Colorado was really trying to focus on against the Stars defense. I think the big thing is just the matchups there, because CC at points, it was a little bit shaky there. But I will give credit to the Esa Lindells, the Ilya Lyubushkins. Lyubushkin especially, I think I wasn't a big fan of the signing, but he's been really, really tight this year in his defensive play. So there's holes to expose there. But I think once Heiskanen comes back, it's going to be a little bit better, though. Still not ideal. I think that's where the Jets have the biggest, especially if we'll see what the status is on Morrissey, but I think that is by far the biggest advantage for the Jets, is that just defensive style they have and the structure they compete with. Whereas the Stars, you kind of, on any given night, you don't really know what you're expecting out of the defense. So it's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure. And you brought up the status of Josh Morrissey there. We will update both the Scheifele and Morrissey injuries at the end of the episode here once we're done drafting all of these factors. And maybe, Grav, you can provide a little bit of an update on Robertson and Heiskanen as well. As both of us fan bases are looking to see who can get healthier quicker. But the next thing that we are going to draft is a depth player to watch for. So Grav, who's a player maybe bottom of the lineup for the Dallas Stars that you think could have a bigger impact in this series? Maybe not a Mikko Rantanen type impact, but still a big impact from a small role.
Right. I mean, I think the depth is one of maybe the Stars' biggest strength. I mean, you look now with Robertson potentially coming back in the lineup, and we'll talk about him later. I feel like you have players like Maverick Bork who are scratches, which is just incredible to me. And I could go for a multitude of forwards like Evgeny Dadonov. I just continue to be flabbergasted by just how good he is at this point in his career. I'm like, how are you still driving play? You're like 39 years old or something. But to me, by far the one that intrigues me the most is Liam Bichsel, who is one of the most interesting younger defensemen in the league already. I was a big fan of him back in his draft year, but he was a very raw defenseman, big boy, great skater. And that's kind of what he is right now in the NHL in his early stages. I think he is a great example of the defense kind of being all over the place, because one night you'll get really great physical play out of him, just crushing hits and just crushing blows all over the ice. He's somebody that loves to just make devastating play after devastating play, but he's somebody that also the skating level can be up and down at points. I think especially his conditioning. I mean, he's somebody that is playing his first really big chunk of NHL games consistently this season. So it's definitely been a whirlwind for him. But I'm really interested to see how he progresses as these playoffs go, if that conditioning is going to become a problem, if that's something that especially the Jets could maximize. Because as of right now, the bottom pair without Heiskanen is him and Alex Petrovic, which is I think a bit of a weakness, especially on the Petrovic
one of the bottom
side.
pairings of all time. Yeah,
right. It's up there. I was genuinely shocked that Petrovic was in the NHL this year and on my team. It was very surreal. But I think especially that's something the Jets will look to really want to prioritize against. And especially Mixell, I think is going to have a interesting time. If he can just float though, if he could just survive, then I think that gives the Stars a pretty big advantage. But I think for him, that's going to be one of the ones to keep an eye on.
100%. Yeah, I definitely agree with you that looking down the lineup, there are some strengths and weaknesses between these two teams. And you want to talk about defensive depth. Maybe you can give the Winnipeg Jets the edge here. Not on forward depth. Definitely not on forward depth. And so the guy I'm going to pull for my not elite player X factor is actually Alex Iafallo, for the exact reason of, oh my gosh, the Dallas Stars forward depth. We've been talking about this for months and months, right? Like the guys, like you said, Maverick Bourque is a healthy scratch, and you look down their third, fourth line, and you're like, oh my gosh, some of these guys are just like unreal NHLers. So the Winnipeg Jets depth is going to have to come up big. And Alex Iafallo is a guy who has been pushed down the lineup due to some guys coming back from injury. He was playing up in the top line with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele while Nikolai Ehlers and Gabe Vilardi were hurt. So he definitely has some high leverage minutes under his belt from recent games. But he's a guy who I think has the potential to really step up big in the secondary scoring aspect, because after his demotion from the top line, he didn't go down to the second or third. He went back down to the fourth. So you have a guy who's able to kind of hang with the best of the best playing on your fourth line. It would be really big for Alex Iafallo to come out and have a big series. So he's who I'm going to pick as my depth player X factor.
I like that pick. I like that pick a lot, because the Jets
got to give a Jacob Stoller shout out whenever he's on here. So that's his boy right there.
There you go. Jacob Stoller, Sportsnet.ca. Big Alex Iafallo fan. My pick is going to be Game 7 legend Hayden Fleury. Josh Morrissey goes out 2 minutes in, and Hayden Fleury plays 33 minutes and is incredibly effective in those minutes. Hit the post just before the game winner. If he scored the game winner, if he scored the game winner, he would have been the ultimate Game 7 legend. Maybe him and Cole Perfetti would have tied. But I think Hayden Fleury, the day-to-day status of Josh Morrissey only exemplifies what Hayden Fleury is going to have to do in this series. I think in Game 7, he won the job for Game 1 over Logan Stanley, who is also day-to-day. That should be noted as well. Even if Josh Morrissey comes back, I think Hayden Fleury has the inside track on that. And if Logan Stanley's healthy, but if Josh Morrissey misses Game 1 or misses Game 2, Hayden Fleury is going to have to play maybe in the Jets' top 4. His role might expand big time. So he's going to have to bring that same effort that he brought in Game 7, where he's using his feet, getting the puck out of the zone, skating it out, making some nice composed offensive plays like the slap pass on the double overtime winner. Like he could have blasted that puck into some shin pads, but no, he slap passed it to Kyle Connor. And we know what happened after that. So I'm going to take Hayden Fleury, Game 7 legend, might be playing an elevated role here as the series goes on. The next thing we're going to be drafting is a unit. So this could be a forward line, a defense pairing, a power play, a penalty kill, a goaltending tandem, which in this series there's no tandems for either of these teams. But Grav, I'll let you go first. What's one unit that you think Jets fans should keep an eye on and is huge for the Stars' success in this series?
Well, the big one that's interesting is now that we have potentially Jason Robertson coming in to the lineup in Game 1, the lineup has almost completely shifted to accommodate him. As of right now, he's starting on the third line, which is ridiculous. But I think because of that, now you have a second line of Ben, Duchesne, and Seguin. And typically it's been Marchment, Duchesne, Seguin, and especially in the first half of the season, like those first couple months, that line was deadly. But it's kind of been up and down, especially in the Marchman's case. Duchesne, I was like, what are you even doing here, bud, for the first 5 games of that Avs series? And then Duchesne is so funny in the playoffs because he'll have 55 minutes where you'll not even understand what the point of him even is. And then he'll make the most beautiful pass of all time in the final 5 minutes. And you're like, okay, that's kind of why you're here. So I think he especially is one that I'm very interested to see if he actually steps up his game. Seguin has always been pretty consistent in the playoffs for the Stars, so I'm not really worried about that. But having Seguin and Ben especially together back in the playoffs on the same line, I think is going to be pretty fascinating. I could have gone for the third line. You have Robertson and Marchment there. That I think could also be a tie basically. But that middle six, that chunk for the Stars, especially because we now know just how lethal that first line of Granlund, Hintz, and Rantanen is, especially over the past few games. I'm not really even that intrigued about it at this point. I know that they're going to be playing pretty well, but that middle six is what I'm most curious to see if they actually gel or not.
just real quick before we get to Liss's pick for this, I actually filled out a projected lineup for the Stars, and I put the Robertson Johnston Marchment line as the second line because I was like,
You could.
there's no way that could be a third line in the NHL. But as you say, the Ben Duchesne Sagan one is really more the second line. So yeah, like you said there, the middle six is just dynamite. Like that's maybe the best middle six in hockey for the Dallas Stars there. So that Ben Duchesne Sagan line, I have it listed as the third line, but really the second line, really a dynamic middle six there. And that's definitely something that the Jets will have to hone in on because boy, oh boy, that is a strong top nine, maybe the best in the NHL. Lyss, who's your pick for the Jets perspective?
Well, that tees me up for mine because you talk about the offensive weapons that exist in the Dallas Stars forward group. I'm going to pick the penalty kill for the Winnipeg Jets as an X factor unit because they weren't awesome in the first round of the NHL playoffs for the Winnipeg Jets. St. Louis burned them on the power play quite a few times. And granted, you can include Connor Hellebuyck in that conversation because the goaltender also plays on the penalty kill. But that penalty killing unit just did not necessarily hit the special teams mark that the Winnipeg Jets knew they needed to set a standard for in order to win that series. Obviously, they ended up with that outcome, but there's definitely some room for improvement on that penalty kill. And just, listing off the names that everyone's familiar with, with Mikko Rantanen alone, but you bring back maybe a healthy Jason Robertson, maybe a healthy Miro Heiskanen down the line, and Thomas Harley, Rupe Hintz, Wyatt Johnson. Everyone saw the Wyatt Johnson goal from Game 7, right? Like, what these guys are capable of doing on the power play. Dallas, I believe, has the most power play goals with 7 out of any of the teams that have played in the playoffs this year. So obviously, special teams are a massive X factor regardless. The discrepancy between a poor penalty kill here and what the Dallas Stars power play is able to do could be a backbreaker for the Winnipeg Jets. So that's going to be a massive, massive component for them to really hone in on in order to see success in this series.
I like that pick a lot. Lyss, I took the exact same unit for our St. Louis series preview for the exact same reason, and I'm going to do it again. It's the Samberg-Pionk pairing. Not only because I think they're now the top pairing. If Josh Morrissey misses any time, they're the Jets' number 1 pair now, but I'll bring up these Dallas lines again. That top line of Granlund, Hintz, Rantanen. I think that the Samberg-Pionk pairing on home ice is going to be tasked with that line. I think that's their shutdown line, if you will, is the Samberg-Pionk pairing. And Rantanen has 11 points in his last 3 games in games 5, 6, and 7. They need to slow him down. He can't bring that momentum into this series. Especially where the Jets are starting out on home ice. So had to get my guy Dylan Samberg in there. I know.
Get ready to learn Neil Pionk hip check, buddy.
Yeah, Lyss, I'm sure you'll bring up Cole Perfetti at some point. We'll get to that, but I'm bringing up my guy Dylan Samberg as a unit. Him and Neil Pionk, something to watch for. They each logged over 44 minutes in Game 7, so they'll be.
We'll see if Pionk can even walk.
Yeah. He said today at practice that the IV in his arm just came out before practice. He was 2 days removed from the IV.
Oh my
coming
God.
out, but
I'm not even surprised. Not even surprised one bit.
No. Anyways, that is a unit for Jets fans to watch for. I think that Samberg-Pionk pair is going to have a lot of responsibility on their shoulders. The final one we want to draft is an intriguing storyline to watch for. Grav, I'll let you go first on this one. What's one storyline around this Dallas Stars group that you are keeping an eye on going into round 2?
Yeah, to me, I think it's between 2 things. I mean, it's probably going to be the same for you guys as well, but the injuries I think are going to play such a major factor into this because you don't even have just the injured players. You also have, if they come back, how are they going to play, especially if they're going to come in like Heiskanen in like Game 4 of the series, for example. Like if he comes into that point, is he actually going to be ready for that type of momentum, that type of play? I mean, 2 of the best teams in hockey going at it right at the most crucial part of the hockey calendar. That to me, I think is going to be the most fascinating part, especially Jason Robertson. I'm very curious, even if he is healthy for Game 1, I'm not really locking him in as a playoff performer yet because he is a very up and down player. He's somebody that really needs the right situation to get going. We've seen that kind of in the playoffs before with the Stars where he has a great series and the next one you kind of want a little bit more out of him. So I'm going to be really interested in that. And then the other one that I had as well for the Stars was just Jake Ottinger in general, because he is, and that's another situation that I think is a fascinating one because he especially is streaky. I mean, he has been great in basically every first round the Stars have played, but after that is where things kind of get dicey, especially in last year's playoffs against Vegas. It was a rough stretch for him. But he was able to establish himself this year already. I thought he was unbelievable, playing his best playoff hockey in a long time, ever since that first round series against Calgary. So if he can keep that going, I think that's also a major X factor, as of course the struggles of Connor Hellebuyck have been well documented. If Ottinger can really perform, I know there's so many people out there saying, this series could determine who's the starter for the Olympics for the US or something. I don't know how much that's actually going to factor in, but it'll definitely be interesting to see the two best American goalies going at it.
Absolutely. And Lyss, I'll go because my draft pick is Connor Hellebuyck. So this is a great transition. Obviously,
I got you, Connor.
Yes, thank you. Perfect. You're making my job easy. This is awesome. Hart Trophy nominee, soon to be 3-time Vezina winner, and these are the numbers: 830 save percentage, 3.85 goals against average.
Oh my god.
Jump scare.
Negative 9.67 goals saved above expected. Like those are Stuart Skinner
numbers.
Those are not Connor Hellebuyck numbers. So that is easily, in my opinion, the most intriguing Winnipeg Jets storyline going into this. They cannot win this series. No discredit to the St. Louis Blues, but there's zero chance the Jets win this series if Hellebuyck finishes it with an 830 save percentage. Like it just won't happen. The Dallas Stars are way too good for that. And Connor Hellebuyck needs to be better. And we heard from him today down at Canada Life Center, and he had some really interesting quotes as to, I don't know, in the third period in overtime, I thought I saw the Vezina Trophy winning Connor Hellebuyck. Not only was he making Heidinger saves, look routine, but he was swallowing up rebounds. There was no second and third opportunities. And this is what he said. He was asked if there was a bit of a turning point in third period and overtime. This is the quote. He says, "Yeah, I definitely felt a little something there. At this point, the pressure has kind of fallen off. The weight of the world is off my shoulders. And that had nothing to do with anyone else. It's just the mental grind of that series." And Connor Hellebuyck pulled in every single game on the road. Absolutely was a mental grind. Neil Pionk said that Connor Hellebuyck came to the team at the second intermission and said the Blues aren't scoring another one, and the Jets knew that they had to get two. And Connor Hellebuyck stood tall and looked like the soon-to-be 3-time Vezina winning goaltender. So if he can maintain that and kind of ride that wave into this second round, that is huge, huge news for the Winnipeg Jets. And like I said, he needs to be better, and he knows it for sure. And if the pressure is truly off, maybe that's a turning point. So Lyss, what's your pick?
Yeah, I think maybe I'll pick a storyline that kind of is a marriage between the two teams here. We obviously spoke about both sides of the goaltending here, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about the schedule and playing on the road. So obviously the Dallas Stars had home ice advantage in their previous series and now no longer do. So it'll be very interesting to see if that plays into, obviously they didn't have the same result as the Winnipeg Jets of, exclusively winning home games in the same fashion, but last change is a real thing. Road schedule is a real thing. So it'll be very interesting to see if that has any impact on how they play. And for the Winnipeg Jets, the road games are obviously a massive, dark spot when looking at this past series here. Like you said, 3 games on the road, 3 Connor Hellebuyck yanks, 3 disappointing performances on the scoreboard and on the ice. So again, same thing. We're cutting it close on those home wins. I understand that it's not over till you lose at home. I totally get that. But those same performances are not going to cut it for winning every single home game, and getting blown out on those road games is not something that I don't think you can keep up doing for much longer if you want to maintain the confidence that you can take this series on. And so I think the road games are going to be really fascinating for both teams. Dallas coming in on the road to start the series as opposed to last time starting at home, and the Winnipeg Jets playing abysmal hockey on the road. It's going to be very, very interesting to see if that has any impact on what we see from these two teams.
I mean, you make a great point, Liz. I think honestly, the first team to lose a home game might be the one that loses the series, because I mean, at this point, it's such a close one. It's going to be such a battle. It really will come down to just a single game at this point, because I don't think anybody's really expecting this to go less than like 6-7 games at this point.
On the way out, can I get a prediction from you both? Grav, start with you.
Well,
I love the look after I ask that all the time. It's always like, oh God.
That's the problem, man, is that this is going to be so bad, because there's no wrong answer, I don't think, with this one.
No,
the wrong answer is a sweep. I think that's the wrong answer.
I think personally, just with the Jets home ice advantage, that's going to be a major factor. But I'm still kind of in wait and see mode with Connor Hellebuyck, as much as he's an X factor. And I think he will be better. It's just a question of how much better, because if he's only slightly better, then I still think that's a bit of a problem. I'm going Stars in 7. But the problem is, whenever I'm like pessimistic about the Stars, they do well. And whenever I'm like, okay, they're actually good now, and I'll predict them to win something, that's when they lose. So maybe that'll happen.
Then keep your prediction. We'll let you take that one.
Stars in 7. You said Stars in 7. You can't take it back.
Yes.
What do you?
Unplug his mic, somebody, quick.
Yeah.
I am gonna go with, oh boy, my actual prediction is Stars in 6. Like I do think that, especially with Miro Heiskanen coming back, I have no doubt. Again, maybe I'm not as cynical about the Stars because I don't watch them as closely as maybe some others do, but I have no doubt that he's going to come back and make an impact immediately. Jason Robertson, I understand having a bit more of a question mark around just based on kind of some previous performances and everything like that. Miro Heiskanen's an absolute horse. What a stud. I think he's going to come in and be a massive problem for the Winnipeg Jets. So I am going to pick the Stars to win this series. And if it turns me into a villain among Winnipeg Jets fans and I get proven wrong, I will be more than pleased with that. But listen, I didn't even have this on my bingo card because I didn't believe in the Dallas Stars. I thought the Colorado Avalanche were going to take this series, and Dallas proved me incredibly wrong. Everyone had Dallas winning the Central Division at the beginning of the season, and if injuries had gone a different way, I still think it would have been possible. This is a really, really, really good hockey team, and so I unfortunately have to give them the nod here.
I would like that.
Hey, it's a win-win. Either your prediction's right or the Jets move on. So it's a win-win.
There you go.
Third period in OT was a turning point for Connor Hellebuyck. I'm taking Jets in 6. They get back to their road game. Maybe they lose a game like one of these first 2 home games here because of the lack of Mark Scheifele and Josh Morrissey potentially. Again, those players aren't fully ruled out. Scott O'Neill said today that they are day-to-day and game time decisions for game 1, but all 3 of Scheifele, Morrissey, and Logan Stanley skated in a non-contact jersey. But I think Hellebuyck is really going to be dialed in. I think his quote about the pressure being off, I think is really going to help him. And that's really what it comes down to for the Jets. If Hellebuyck's not better, Jake Ottinger, I had the stats up here. I'll bring them up again. 9-11 save
Please stop.
percentage.
Why are you doing this?
Third time.
Fine. I'll stop. Yeah. Anyways, Connor Hellebuyck will be better. The Jets refine their road game. They don't collapse on the road. And I think they take this series in 6 and get a little bit healthy. I have to take the Jets in 6 because in 7, like Pete DeBoer's undefeated in game 7s. So I can't do Jets in 7, you know? So
it Stars in 7, baby.
Yeah, there you go. So
Mr. Game 7, move over just
10-0. 10-0. We're making it happen.
Mr. Game 7 in town.
Absolutely. Well, Grav, this was an absolute blast. On the way out, let people know where they can find your YouTube content. I'm a huge fan of it, so plug it on the way out.
Appreciate it, Connor. Yeah, so if you guys want to find me, you can find me at Graviteh at YouTube. Just search Graviteh Hockey, whatever you want to do there. And you can follow me on Twitter at the same place as well. Much better YouTube content than on Twitter, but I appreciate you guys having me on. This is going to be one heck of a series, and hopefully we don't all hate each other by the end of things.
Absolutely. Let's keep it respectful. This is going to be a heck of a hockey series, as they all are when you get into the second round. The divisional matchups are still intact, and it's the 8 best teams in the league. This is going to be a ton of fun. So enjoy the series, and maybe we'll catch up with you at the end of it.
Absolutely. Good luck, Jets fans. It's gonna be amazing. I cannot wait.
It's gonna be awesome. Okay, from myself, Connor, Lyss, and Grav, thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hit the like button on the way out, and we'll see you next time on Winnipeg Sports Talk. Appreciate it.